some questions about just how far the Biden administration can go if they do get another term. And that's, again, something reflecting in the commentary from those on the CNN panel, on the MSNBC panel, and so on. But let's look at some of the reaction post-debates that came out, including from the likes of Governor J.B. Pritzker here in Illinois, and also the Illinois Republican Party. I posted this last night on X, just getting the initial reaction from some of the politicos. Here's the statement from Governor J.B. Pritzker. Says that the contrast between these two men was clear before the debate. It's even clearer now. The governor says, tonight voters were presented with a clear choice. A president working hard every day to improve the lives of all Americans, or a convicted felon, a selfish blowhard looking out only for himself. The contrast between these two men was clear before the debate. It's even clearer now. At every turn, Pritzker said, Donald Trump lied, rambled, and misled the American people about what a second Trump term would look like, but voters won't be fooled. This is a man who brags about ripping reproductive rights away from women, tried to gut health care for millions of Americans, shipped jobs overseas, and sold out the middle class to the wealthiest bidders. Trump's second term will only be worse. The governor of Illinois continues saying that Americans rejected Donald Trump's extreme MAGA agenda in 2020, and they'll do it again in November. Governor J.B. Pritzker, who, by the way, for several years now, it seems, has had this kind of rumor mill amongst some in the media that he's aiming to go to the White House himself. And when exactly would that be? Obviously, nothing during the presidential primaries, having Pritzker involved in that as a candidate. Maybe in 2028, who knows? But it'd be interesting to see what the governor's reaction is going to be when asked about Biden's performance at any kind of news conference. The governor does not have anything scheduled today, so we'll see if when he does have a public event, if he'll be asked specifically about Biden's performance. That all indication is some in the Democratic coalition, as they call it, have alarm bells going off, and even some chatter on the cable news networks of trying to find a different candidate for the 2024 election for Democrats. And again, all of this happening with still weeks before the August convention in Chicago. But the Illinois Republican Party released this statement. They said, following President Trump's resounding debates win in Atlanta, newly elected RNC committeeman for Illinois, Dean White, responded on behalf of the Illinois Republican Party with the following statement. The difference between President Biden's performance and the strong, definitive performance of President Trump could not be more clear. President Trump displayed why we need his leadership in the White House to bring down the cost of living for American families, to close Joe Biden's open border, and to give Americans confidence that we are leading from the front instead of covering from an out-of-touch career politician. There is a reason President Trump is leading in the polls across the country. The voters know that he is the leader this country needs, and it's why he'll win in November. Again, that's Dean White, an RNC committeeman from Illinois. That's just some of the initial reaction. If you go even deeper into some of the other X accounts, like the Democratic Party of Illinois, you'll see just some of the posts they made. 10 hours ago, they said the bottom line, Donald Trump's a twice impeached, 34-time indicted figure with a history of undermining democracy, inciting violence, and seeking revenge on his enemies. He belongs nowhere near the White House. They also retweet Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. I want a president that's going to protect our democracy and restore reproductive freedom for every American everywhere. There is only one person on this debate stage that will do that, Joe Biden. So you can skim through the Democratic Party of Illinois' social media and see some more comments there. But Tammy Duckworth, Illinois U.S. Senator, Democrat, she posted yesterday, retweeting the Democrats, a picture of Joe Biden smiling, the winner of tonight's debate. Also posting, tonight we saw the difference between a candidate who will continue to lead our country with dignity and defend democracy, and one who is not fit to spend 1 second more in the Oval Office. The clear choice, we must reelect Joe Biden. Who's with me? Duckworth says. Even further, you go into it, Robin Kelly, She's a congresswoman from the 2nd District in Illinois, former chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Illinois, also posting that Donald Trump has said loud and clear that he is proudly the person responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade and that there should be punishment for women who get an abortion. If elected, he'll pass a national abortion ban. She also posts a clip from Biden-Harris headquarters of some of the debate from last night. And even retweeting President Joe Biden, who said Donald Trump is the only president besides Herbert Hoover who left office with fewer jobs than when he began. Some people posting on social media. It's interesting that Biden was posting to X and other social media accounts while he was on the debate stage. But let's see what some of the Republican Party has to say. Of course, we shared with you the statement from the National Committeeman from Illinois for the RNC. But the Republican Party retweeting RNC research, a New York Post front page, just sad. President mumbles, stumbles, freezes in train wreck debate versus Trump. You've got Jeannie Ives being retweeted by the Illinois Republican Party, a former state representative, former Republican primary gubernatorial candidate from the Rauner years. But Ives posted, not even Democrats can defend Biden's performance. They are only commenting on Trump and continuing on others to clean up the mess that Biden made. And more comments there. They also retweeted the Border Patrol Union, where they said, to be clear, we've never, ever, and will never endorse Biden. And that was an interesting exchange that happened during debate. Again, drilling down even more into some of the others, Chicago Republican Party, active on X, they posted a tweet from Turning Point USA, highlighting the suckers and losers comments that were exchanged between Biden and Trump, and also some more posts there. Congresswoman Mary Miller, her account on X, posting about a huge victory for President Trump after the debate. She says the American people are horrified that the Democrats and the media have lied and cover up Joe Biden's severe cognitive decline. 47 will make secure the border, unleash American energy, save our economy, and make America great again. And she also goes on to post another clip from last night's debate, and this is an interesting exchange. The whole thing, there were several really fascinating exchanges from last night's debate. So just wanted to give you kind of an overview of both sides here, what their reactions were. And what's fascinating is to see the reaction from the political pundits immediately afterwards, like on MSNBC, an entire panel talking about concerns over panic within the Democratic Party following Biden's performance, to looking at the likes of, Governor Pritzker, who says that, there's a clear difference between the two candidates, and using, issues like abortion to bolster the Biden campaign. So sometimes you got to step back and look at all of what's being said and make up your own mind there. So appreciate you being here with Illinois in Focus. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, go to America's Talking Network, and you'll be able to get updates when we post and go live each and every weekday morning. So make that happen with America's Talking Network on YouTube. I'm Greg Bishop. More coming up.
Census count in 2020, and it turns out, no, we actually gained population in Illinois. So I don't trust the surveys, but I do trust the actual count of people.
I'm really shocked that J.B. Pritzker is a population denier.
Even more data coming out showing that Illinois continues to lose population. Welcome back. It is Illinois in Focus. I'm Greg Bishop with you daily. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network so you can be updated when we go live with our daily reporting. So if you go to thecentersquare.com, you'll see that there's been a lot of reporting over the years about Illinois' population decline, a decade of decline. We've seen numbers from the U.S. Census. We lost a congressperson in the most recent census, and year after year after year for 10 years straight of annual population decline. In some years it was 10,000, other years it was 30,000, other years it was 110,000. But regardless, the overall official census count had Illinois losing population. That's why we lost a seat in Congress. But Governor J.B. Pritzker, when asked about this time and again, and I've pulled up the record here, he's denied population decline. And we'll hear some of his comments over the past year and a half or so about being asked of Illinois' losing population. But it's not just the census data. We now have IRS migration data that was released recently, highlighting the population shifts within the country. And I pulled up the outflow, the inflow, and we're going to go through these numbers together just so you can get a sense of what exactly this spreadsheet spells out. So I'm going to pull this up and get out the calculator, and we're going to review this together. So you've got the 2022 latest data from the IRS. This is data that spells out how many tax returns there are. Right, so another indication of population, how many tax returns are filed in one state and another state, and they even break down maybe where some of the states are population are shifting to other states, or if they're moving out of the country, or if people are moving into the state or moving into the country. But if you look at the total migration numbers here from Illinois, this is just Illinois. All right, so I'm going to pull this up and get this squared up so we can run some of these numbers through the calculator to give you an idea of where we're at. So the bottom line here is that more than 80,000 people filed tax returns in other states, essentially. I mean, that's the bottom line here. But let's take a look at this. Illinois total migration, U.S. and foreign. So we're going to just go with this number. Total number of returns, total number of individuals. We'll go here. All right. So this is the state outflow. This is the number of people going out, the number of individuals going out. And if you take that number, 264,239. But look at the inflow. What do you get? Same number set here. You've got 176,953. Total number of individuals. This is IRS data, Internal Revenue. All right. The Internal Revenue Service data. People who are filing tax returns. So let's enter these numbers here. 176. This is the total number of people that came to Illinois. 176,953. And then we're going to subtract that by the total number of people moving out of the state. So again, 264,239. And we'll add this up here live with you as we are crunching these numbers. So you have the total number of inflow, 176, almost 177,000. And then the total number of outflow, which you would subtract that from that number. It's 264,239. And you get 87,000 people who moved out of the state. At least filed in other states. 87,000 people. This is not the census data. This is IRS migration data. So from 2021 to 2022, 87,286 people fewer in Illinois than in other states. And what you see here too is the outflow. You can break this down and actually look at all the states that are getting people from Illinois. And obviously Florida, Texas, Indiana, California, Wisconsin, a lot of these states getting more people. Where are people moving in to Illinois from? They're moving from California, Indiana, Florida, but more people moved out than moved in. Another interesting number set here is, let's look at adjusted gross income. All right. So 9.5, what is that, billion, I believe? Let me just double check here. Yeah. So it's in thousands of dollars. So this is 9.5 billion in total adjusted gross income. That's the state inflow. So that's how much money the state brought in. from outside of states. You look at the state outflow, and it's $19.4 billion. So almost $10 billion difference there of adjusted gross income. Almost $10 billion. So another set of numbers showing population leaving the state and their tax dollars leaving the state. So $10 billion leaving the state of Illinois. Governor Pritzker, over the past year and a half, has been asked about population decline. Here he is way back in April of last year being asked about population decline at an unrelated event at Northwestern University.
You know, we all talked about the exodus from the state of Illinois, which I want to contend to you, some of that data was wrong. We saw they do a survey year after year called the American Community Survey, and it said that hundreds of thousands of people were leaving every year. And then we did an actual count, the census count, in 2020, and it turns out, no, we actually gained population in Illinois. So I don't trust the surveys, but I do trust the actual count of people.
But then the governor went on to talk about how the people who were leaving Illinois were college-age students graduating high school, and they would go to a different state, and he said that they're reversing that with new grant dollars for education.
We're beginning to see, as a result of some of the stats I just gave you, the freshman classes entering, the enrollment entering classes in colleges all across the state are going up for the first time in quite some time. And it's a result of we're getting past COVID, and the resources that we put into MAP grants and the resources we've sent directly to universities.
So the governor continued to talk about education funding and how he says that that's going to reverse the trend. But even after that, in May, more data came out about population decline. It's not just the census data. It's not just the IRS migration data. It's even moving company data that has Illinois amongst the top states people are moving out of. Back in May of last year, I asked the governor about population decline.
That's not census data, just to be clear, right? A census is done. Yeah, fair enough.
County level data released.
We did not lose population, as you saw when the Census Bureau data came through for the 2020 census. We actually gained population. Especially as they looked more closely after the initial announcements at what happened state to state. So I'm pleased about that. I think the American Community Survey data is a little more suspect, as you know, and clearly miscounted Illinois population over the years leading up to the actual counting of people during the census, and it continues to be inaccurate in its count.
And he even went, and several Democratic leaders from Illinois went to the U.S. Census and complained about the numbers, saying, no, we've grown in population, despite showing a decade of decline, and the 10-year census showing fewer people in Illinois than 10 years prior. Well, the governor again brought this up in August of last year after being asked by a student at a conversation, a fireside chat that he had at a university, and the governor continued to deny population loss.
We did a census in 2020. Turns out all the American Community Survey data wrong. We gained population in the state of Illinois in the census of 2020. So now what am I supposed to say? Every year the Republicans, the right wing, cites the American Community Survey data. You just cited some from last year that says that we're losing population, when the reality is that we didn't over the last 10 years when the American Community Survey said we did. So I would just say our economy has grown from $800 million to over $1 trillion in the last couple of years. We have jobs available. In fact, we have about 85,000 more jobs available in the state of Illinois right now than we have people who can fill those jobs.
And again, that's from August of last year with the governor being asked about community survey data. It's not just the census data. It's not just the annual estimations from the census. It's not just the American Community Survey. It's not just the moving data from moving companies like U-Haul. It's also the IRS data that's highlighted here. And the most recent data showing that from 2021 to 2022, 86,000 people left the state of Illinois, and with them, they took almost $10 billion in tax money with them. So it's a collection of all of these different data points that are highlighting Illinois' continued population decline. My colleague Katrina Peterson last month asked the governor about the continued reports of population decline, and here's how the governor reacted to that question.
So to disabuse you and many others of a misimpression, there is, as you know, every 10 years a census that gets done. That's where people's doors get knocked on.
And he continued to talk about the community survey data and how he and other Democratic leaders went to the U.S. Census to complain about it and said, hey, these cities are also complaining about it within Illinois, saying that you guys got the numbers wrong. And the governor talked about how the census did come back and revise their numbers.
And they believed us, and they went around and looked at the cities in the state that applied. We had a group of cities who kind of went to the Census Bureau and said, this is wrong. We're seeing more people than you are. And what did they do? They upped the numbers, the population numbers for each of those cities that were part of that application. So it's clear there's something wrong with the ACS data. And I know you guys keep reporting that we're losing population based upon that inaccurate data, but you should take what I'm saying as truth, that actually when we count people, it turns out we're gaining population.
Again, it's not just the American Community Survey data that we're reporting on. We're reporting on the annual estimates. We're reporting on the estimates of counties in Illinois losing population that's released. We're also looking at the Internal Revenue Service data showing, again, 86,000 or so fewer people taking with them $10 billion. And that's been consistent from year to year to year to year as well as the total numbers of people leaving the state. So looking at all this data here, and the governor still seeming to deny that. State Representative Chris Miller recently said that the governor's got an issue here.
I'm really shocked that J.B. Pritzker is a population denier. You know, one of the biggest drivers for people leaving the state is overtaxation, overregulation, the tyranny of what they've done with the individual tax, business tax, real estate tax. You know, when people are fleeing because of that, plus out of control inflation here, not only here, but everywhere right now because of the Biden-Pritzker policies. And so there's a lot of easy answers to these problems, but the first thing that you have to do is to admit that you have a problem and admit that your policies have created this mess.
So Chris Miller, a little concerned about what he says is Governor J.B. Pritzker being a population denier. Obviously, questions about that will persist as more data comes out. The bottom line today is the latest IRS data showing that Illinois lost 86,000 plus individuals, and with them $10 billion roughly of gross domestic product. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell at America's Talking Network, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning for live coverage of what you need to know to get your day started. America's Talking Network with Illinois in Focus Daily and the Center Square. Some are questioning the use of tax dollars for violence intervention programs and summer youth jobs programs as concerns about violent crime persists. Welcome back, Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with America's Talking Network and the Center Square. And $180 million in the state budget that starts Monday, July 1st. $180 million of that $53 billion budget is going to violence intervention grants and youth summer jobs programs, as typically what you see in a city like Chicago, the violent crime tends to tick upwards whenever the weather gets nicer and nicer and nicer. I mean, it's summer now. And you've seen some of the headlines in the past of the numbers of shootings and fatalities You also look at the robberies and the assaults and the carjackings, and those numbers, while some may be coming down, it's still at a level that is alarming for those living in and around the Chicago area who have to commute there, who want to travel there to be a tourist, and so on. But as part of the efforts to try to curb that violence, the state of Illinois is going to use tax dollars, $180 million, for violence intervention programs. Here's Governor J.B. Pritzker earlier this week in reaction to the U.S. Surgeon General saying that gun violence, quote unquote, is a public health crisis. And Governor Pritzker said that he's glad that pronouncement was made. And he said that Illinois is doing what it can to help fund violence intervention programs, something the U.S. Surgeon General said should be done to help curb gun violence.
Just like with healthcare, early intervention, what do we say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That is true also when it comes to gun violence. That making sure that we're making the proper investments early into communities where we know there is a problem with violence, making sure that we're deterring people from getting engaged in things that they shouldn't by providing jobs, by making sure we have violence intervention programs that are funded.
So the governor went on to talk about those programs and the history of the funding of those programs, how like during the Rounder administration, some of those programs were not funded. And he said that meant the violence was coming back. But if you go even further back, and this is just my understanding from covering the State House for the past 10 years, if you recall, former Governor Pat Quinn had the Neighborhood Recovery Initiative, NRI, the Neighborhood Recovery Initiative. And millions of dollars went to these types of organizations, nonprofits. But then it was found out that some of the money was going to pad six-figure salaries for some of these nonprofit groups, and even questions about the use of those dollars in politics ahead of elections. And how that was ethically questionable, and the investigations that happened back then. Just look it up. Do a news archive search. Neighborhood Recovery Initiative. All right. During the Quinn administration, you'll find those audit reports that at that time were kind of partly propelling people saying, hey, these violence intervention programs have some flaws in them. But the governor says that he's going to make sure that and other groups are watching and monitoring how these dollars are used and make sure they're used appropriately.
News is that there are private, independent folks who are monitoring things like this. If you look at CRED, for example, in the city, they've looked at the communities where they're making investments and where other investments have been made, and they've watched the violent crime numbers come down in those communities as we invest with those programs. The state of Illinois does. And so we think that it's very important to track and trace what happens with the dollars that we put into those programs, and it does prove to work. And then you see the reverse of it in the years prior. Take the money away, violence increases.
So the governor highlighting how he believes that if you take the money away, violence increases. With these violence intervention programs, he says need to be funded. Again, $180 million beginning Monday in the state of Illinois. Your tax dollars going to violence intervention programs, but not just violence intervention programs, also summer youth jobs programs. Here's Peoria Democratic State Representative Jehan Gordon Booth earlier this month when the governor signed the budget that's set to start Monday. She said that the budget includes these types of dollars that she says are drastically needed.
I would be remiss if I did not also mention that this happens to be Gun Violence Awareness Month. This budget makes significant investments from Chicago to Cairo, from Pembroke to Peoria, in ensuring that our communities are safer because of the investments that we're making in programs like youth employment, programs that we're ensuring that we're investing in, like violence intervention, violence prevention. These kinds of concepts, after school programming, these are the things that when you see safe communities, you see a plethora of these kinds of concepts along with economic opportunity.
So again, Jehan Gordon Booth, state representative from Peoria, highlighting the summer youth programs, the jobs programs, and the violence intervention. I connected with Ted Dabrowski from WirePoints, who, by the way, if you can go to their website, you'll see some reports that include reports about violent crime. They also have a report out about Illinois' population decline, but they had a report several days ago about the high number of unresponsive calls to 911 in Chicago. And it's pretty alarming. It's almost 50-50, they say. But I connected with Dabrowski to get his take on this idea of using $180 million in tax money to go towards violence intervention programs and youth summer jobs programs.
Well, yeah, we've got two problems going on, or we have two ways of solving this. One is the immediate reactions to what's happening with crime. The second is the root causes. And I think we keep confusing the two things. We think that we can keep throwing more money at these violence prevention programs when what we're not doing is saying, hey, let's put a deterrence on crime. And so we're not helping the police. We're not prosecuting, and we're actually handcuffing the police when it comes to doing their job. Whether it's not doing foot chases, not doing car chases. We've got the Safety Act now, which is allowing more criminals to be on the streets. So I say we need to do number one first, which is control the crime on the streets today. And then number two, figure out how we approach the root causes, because the root causes are important, but it's not about throwing money at it. It's about doing the right things.
But again, asking Dabrowski about the spending side on $53.1 billion budget.
Sure.
It's a big budget. And $180 million going towards these types of programs. Are they effective programs? Do they actually bring about a reduction in crime? How do we assess this?
Right. So they're taking all this money. We already have a tough time with the budget, as we know. And they're taking this money and doing things which might, in the short term, they might alleviate crime. They might alleviate murders because they're giving money to groups to say, hey, get out there and engage. Let's find out who the bad guys are. Let's work on a lot of the mental health issues, all kinds of stuff. Right. The problem is those aren't structural ways to help the problem. And when you look at this, creating jobs for youth in the summer. It all sounds good, but that's government spending more money on government programs, which aren't, one, sustainable, and two, nobody knows if they ever work because there's no real proof of that. What needs to happen is real job creation, real opportunity, better schools. And, I look at this, I was looking at the data across the country. For the 15 largest cities, we have the highest Black unemployment rate in the nation. That's a real problem, which has, it's not about crime, it's about opportunity. And when there's no opportunity, well, you get more crime. Same thing on poverty. We have the second highest poverty among the 15 big cities. And, and we're one of the most equity-focused states and cities in the country. So we have a real problem of creating opportunity, and the money would be better spent creating real opportunity rather than trying to just tax people and send it to programs which are unproven. And when we're at 6-year high in violent crimes right now, it's not about money. We don't have the right strategies.
Again, Ted Dabrowski from WirePoint. Go to WirePoint's website to learn more about their research. And I appreciate him taking time with me yesterday to go over and react to the $180 million going into violence intervention programs. That starts with the budget beginning July 1st. It is Illinois in Focus with America's Talking Network and the Center Square. Be sure to go like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network each and every weekday morning, waking up with you. And don't forget also to subscribe to Illinois in Focus wherever you subscribe to your podcasts. That's where you'll get the weekend edition of Illinois in Focus with myself and Dan McCaleb from the Center Square. But you'll also get the daily podcast here each and every weekday morning with Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, make it happen. Greg Bishop, have yourself a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday with more of Illinois in Focus Daily. Happy Friday. Got to get out of here. A big shout out to those with us this late in the program. Listen, I'm still trying to find the best fit here as to do we do 2 segments? Do we do 3 segments? Do we do 4 segments? Are we focusing on the right issues? So definitely let me know, all right? Of course, don't forget, Bishop on Air will become America's Talking Network at a date certain. We'll still have Bishop on Air, all right? So you're still going to be able to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell with Bishop on Air. But the daily program going to America's Talking Network with Illinois in Focus Daily. So again, go over there, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, America's Talking Network on YouTube. Get those numbers up, all right? And we will have more for you all throughout the week next week. Daily programs, Illinois in Focus Daily. Appreciate you guys being here and part of the program. I think we got over 360 people watching across several different platforms, even more so on X, which that's fascinating to see. So I appreciate people watching on that platform. But if you are watching on that platform, note, Illinois in Focus Daily going to be at the YouTube channel. All right, I may pop on here from time to time to remind you about that, but we want to get those numbers up over there. All right, we're a nonprofit newswire service, and having you watch there will help feed the ongoing work that we do. So it's important to go like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and watch Illinois in Focus daily on YouTube at America's Talking Network. Happy Friday, Mike, Freedom 1776. What was my take on the debate last night? I'll just watch earlier on the program, and I guess you can get a sense of at least the review of both sides of the conversation here. Randall, good morning. Dangerous Liberty, Captain Mike, Tattooed Squirrel. You've also got Brett in the house, Sean, Nakuda, AJ, Phil, Doobie Lou, John, Oscar Mike, Festus, and so many more. You guys are definitely active in the live chat, so I appreciate you being here. Got to get out of here. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.
Take